He's one of the most important new faces of the Republican Party, Texas Senator Ted Cruz. He's the first Hispanic senator from the Lone Star State.
And he's a rising star among conservatives. CBN's John Jessup talked to Cruz about his priorities, his faith, and what he hopes to accomplish in Washington.
While he's still getting used to the title,
anytime anyone says senator, I turn around and try to figure out who on earth they're talking to.
the Lone Star State's new senator is already making waves. A Tea Party favorite who tells CBN News not to expect his conservative principles to waver just because he's in Washington.
More than anything else, what I intend to fight for in the U.S. Senate is to preserve that opportunity to seek the American dream, not just for us, but for our kids and our grandkids and every generation to come.
Cruz, the son of a Southern Baptist pastor, took the oath of office on the family Bible. He's now on a crusade to reform the Republican Party, preaching what he calls opportunity conservatism, a pro-growth message designed to cross party lines.
One of the tremendous things about Americans, none of us want to be dependent on government. All of us want to stand on our own feet, provide for our families, work towards the American dream.
Senator Cruz says he's willing to cross party lines and work with Democrats on policies that grow the economy, unlike what he calls the lousy deal to avoid the fiscal cliff. In that fight, he says Democrats had the upper hand. He believes the tables will be turned in the upcoming debate over the debt ceiling.
I think if conservatives stand strong, stand for principle, and say we've got to fix the problems, it is immoral to saddle our kids with trillions in debt, then the debt ceiling presents a real leverage point to get serious fundamental reforms to start fixing these problems.
He even suggests refusing to raise the debt ceiling to force a partial government shutdown, like the one in 1995.
The result was some political pain, but the result was also year after year of balanced budgets and some of the most fiscally responsible policies this Congress has ever produced.
Cruz credits his Christian faith and his father's escape from Cuba for shaping his political worldview, which he says will guide him as a member of the Judiciary Committee.
Having principled men and women in office is how we protect ourselves from tyranny. And one of the great blessings of being the child of an immigrant who's fled oppression is you understand how fragile liberty is.
Él no tenía nada, pero tenía corazón.
With his Cuban heritage, he's seen as a Republican who could put a dent in the Democrats' Latino voting bloc. He's also considered to be a potential frontrunner in 2016, though it's something he rules out.
I just was sworn in a few days ago. At this point, I haven't even found the restroom. So I am very much focused on doing this job right before me.
At least for now. John Jessup, CBN News, Capitol Hill.
Well, let's not anoint him too quickly. He's still a freshman senator, but a lot of potential here. You can find more of John's interview with Senator Cruz on CBN.com. Well, in other news out of Washington, a well-known Christian pastor won't be taking part in President Obama's inauguration after all. Lee Webb has that story from the CBN newsroom. Lee?
That's right, Gordon. Louis Giglio has decided not to give the benediction at President Obama's inauguration ceremony. He withdrew after critics publicized a sermon he preached in the 1990s against homosexuality at his church in Atlanta. He called same-sex relationships sinful, and he said, "We must lovingly but firmly respond to the aggressive agenda of not all, but many in the homosexual community." Giglio says he withdrew from the inauguration because it was likely his prayer would be dwarfed by those seeking to make their agenda the focal point of the inauguration. And he says, "My aim has been to call people to ultimate significance as we make much of Jesus Christ." The Presidential Inaugural Committee was not aware of Giglio's sermon or his comments. A spokesperson said, had they known, they would not have invited him. The deadly flu season that's sweeping across the United States is getting worse, and it hasn't peaked. A 22-year-old Oklahoma woman is one of the latest to die, and doctors and hospitals are overwhelmed, and the vaccine is said to be in short supply. Charlene Israel has that story.
It's going to take you probably 2 or 3 weeks to feel really good again.
Many Americans are fighting a losing battle against this year's flu virus.
We are all a little overwhelmed, not only the practitioners, but the caregivers in general.
Doctors, hospitals, and pharmacies are all struggling to keep up. This Boston hospital was forced to turn office space into bed space to make room for patients.
And it feels like it hasn't yet peaked, and we were concerned that we were going to run out of inpatient capacity.
Medical offices are running out of the flu vaccine. More than 128 million vaccine doses have been distributed across the country, but clinics can't keep up with the demand. In Somerville, Massachusetts,
we exhausted our supply on Tuesday of this week.
In Dallas, Texas,
we were running low and we were able to get 1,000 doses. We'll evaluate how many more doses that we'll be needing to order, but right now that'll fill a gap.
Everybody's seeing flu. I mean, there are a huge number of cases. I mean, this is pretty significant.
Pharmacists are also struggling to fill prescription drug orders.
And we were going to go on a cruise with our grandkids and didn't get to go. It was really bad. Probably the sickest I've been in 20 years. Just couldn't get rid of it.
Deck Halsey is one of many patients at this Texas pharmacy trying to get the drug Tamiflu.
Each day right now we're getting 24 boxes of the Tamiflu capsules, but we're running out of them. I mean, that's not enough because we're getting 40 or 50 prescriptions for them every day.
Charlene Israel, CBN News.
Wow, and to make matters worse, a nasty stomach bug called the norovirus is also spreading. Doctors warn it's extremely contagious. A cold front is blasting a huge section of the country with snow, ice, and freezing rain. Snow shut down Interstate 5 north of Los Angeles. Wet, snowy roads made for slow commutes, and roads in higher elevations turned to ice. Forecasters say it's part of a giant cold front sending a chill from the Rockies to the Midwest. 60-mile-an-hour winds triggered a mudslide near Seattle. And in Louisiana, heavy downpours flooded rivers and streams. Residents are cleaning up after a twister tore through the Baton Rouge area.
Our patio flew off in the back. It's actually over here in the neighbor's yard. And we got outside and we walked out to this.
Winter weather advisories and warnings are posted from California to Michigan. And the biggest storm to hit the Middle East in decades dumped at least 6 inches of snow, and of all places, Jerusalem. It normally snows there once every 3 or 4 years, but this was the biggest snowstorm in up to 20 years there. The snow shrouded well-known sites like the Western Wall and the Temple Mount. Schools and roads were closed and public transportation shut down for half the day. Children, young and old, were outside building snowmen and having snowball fights. The snow was the end of a storm front that had been pummeling the country for 4 days. Fascinating. Gordon?
There's a great shot on the internet of Bibi Netanyahu throwing a snowball. So that's what's happening in Jerusalem. And if anything can shut down the violence there, it would be 6 inches of snow. So it's a welcome relief for the city.
Followers of Jesus Christ suffer daily interrogation, arrest, and even death in at least 60 countries. That's according to Open Doors USA, which has released its annual watch list of the world's 50 worst offenders. Christians in Africa are witnessing a significant surge in persecution. Mali jumped from unranked to number 7. Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, and Niger also joined the list. And Ethiopia climbed from number 38 to 15. But North Korea continues to be the worst country in the world to be a Christian. It topped the chart for the 11th year in a row, followed by Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan, Iraq, and Somalia. In those nations, Open Doors says extreme Islam poses the largest threat for Christians. Operation Blessing is equipping thousands of people with marketable job skills and small business opportunities through micro-enterprise projects. Recently, a bakery workshop helped a teenager in Peru start his own business. Miguel wanted to go to college but couldn't afford it. He attended the workshop, and at the end, Operation Blessing helped Miguel and his classmates open a community bakery. OB provided them with 6 months of supplies to get started. Now Miguel is earning enough money to save so that he can go to college. And you can find out more about Operation Blessing by going to its website at ob.org.